The Alternative for Deutschland, or AfD, is one of the most controversial political parties in Germany. With its growing influence, the party's program has become a national subject of debate. But what exactly does the AfD propose for Germany's future? According to recent polls, the AfD is polling around 21 to 22%, making it the second largest party in Germany, behind the CDU-CSU, which holds around 30%. This marks a significant rise compared to the previous elections and signals a shift in voter sentiment. Today we will take a look at the AfD's election manifesto, analyze their policies on key issues. Starting with economics, a central topic in the AfD's election program. The party presents itself as a defender of small businesses, German industry and middle-class taxpayers. But what are their actual proposals? Let's start with taxation. On taxation, the AfD advocates for lowering taxes and reducing the financial burden on citizens and businesses, such as lowering the income tax. The AfD supports reducing income tax rates across all brackets. One of the key proposals is to increase the basic tax-free allowance, allowing people to earn more before they start paying taxes. Secondly, they want to abolish the solidarity surcharge, originally introduced to help rebuild Eastern Germany reunification. This additional tax remains in place for high earners. The AfD wants to eliminate it completely. Moreover, they want to abolish the CO2 tax. This tax increases the cost of fossil fuels as part of Germany's climate policy. The AfD argues that it drives up energy prices for consumers and businesses, and they call for its immediate repeal. The AfD's economic vision is centered on protecting German industries and reducing state intervention in the economy by opposing the green transition and industrial regulations. The AfD argues that environmental policies such as the CO2 reduction targets and the EU regulations are harming German businesses. They propose rolling back climate-related restrictions to allow industry to operate more freely. Secondly, they want to abolish the Supply Chain Act. This law requires German companies to ensure fair labor conditions and environmental protection in global supply chains. The AfD calls for its repeal, arguing it puts German businesses at a disadvantage. Moreover, they want to reverse the ban on combustion engines. The EU has set a deadline to phase out combustion engine cars by 2035. The AfD opposes this and wants to keep traditional fuel-based car on the market, calling the ban ideologically driven and harmful to the German auto industry. The AfD also wants to drastically reduce bureaucracy to make businesses, operations and daily life easier for German citizens. They propose eliminating restrictions on small and medium-sized businesses, including simplifying tax filing process for businesses, reducing reporting obligation and legal compliance paperwork, rolling back EU-imposed labor and environmental regulation. Furthermore, they want to reduce government institutions. The party argues that the government is too large and inefficient. They propose merging or dissolving agencies they consider unnecessary. Also, they want to push forward on digitalization. They support expanding digital services in government offices to make processes faster and more efficient. Germany is often criticized for its bureaucratic complexity. The AfD argues that reducing it would make the country more competitive and more attractive for investments. Let's head to the next topic: energy policies. The AfD rejects the country's current energy transition and calls for a return to traditional energy sources, such as returning to nuclear power. Germany shut down its last nuclear power plants in 2023, but the AfD wants to restart nuclear energy production and even build new reactors to provide energy. Furthermore, they want to return to Russian gas. The AfD called for resuming gas imports from Russia, despite the ongoing EU sanctions. They argued that Russian gas was a cheap and reliable energy source, and refusing to buy it harms German businesses and consumers. Also, they want to restart coal power plants. Germany has been phasing out coal power plants in favor of renewables. The AfD wants to keep it as energy source. While not opposing renewables, they are critical of them. They call for an end for subsidies for solar and wind projects, arguing that wind turbines damage landscape and property values, while solar energy is unreliable. AfD's vision for energy is simple. They want to be technologically open and focus on cheap energy rather than, as they say, an ideologically driven energy politic. Next on the list is migration. Migration is one of the most debated topics in Germany, and for the AfD, it's a core issue. The party takes a hard stance on immigration and asylum policies, calling for a significant reduction in migration and tighter border controls. But what do they exactly oppose? The AfD calls for permanent border checks and border rejections at all German borders. They want to accelerate processes for deporting individuals whose asylum claim have been denied or those convicted of crimes. They also want to end social benefits for asylum seekers. They propose replacing direct financial aid with in-kind contributions to discourage migration for economic reasons. Furthermore, they want to end family reunification for asylum seekers, or severely restrict reunification for those granted asylum or subsidiary protection in Germany. Last but not least, the party opposes the EU new migration agreement, which redistributes asylum seekers across member states. The AfD believes that Germany should completely rethink its migration system, focusing on strict controls and national policies. One of the AfD's main goals is to increase support for families, especially to those with multiple children. They propose to increase financial aid for parents. The party also supports giving extra tax breaks or direct payments to families where one parent chooses to stay at home with the children. Furthermore, they want to maintain or expand existing parental benefits and reject any reduction in family subsidies. The AfD argues that these policies would make it easier for families to afford children and strengthen Germany's demographics. Foreign policies play a crucial role in any government's agenda, and the AfD has a radically different vision compared to Germany's mainstream parties. The policies focus on reducing Germany's role in global alliances, redefining EU relations, and shifting diplomatic priorities. The AfD has a critical stance on NATO and Germany's current defense policies. They reject sending additional weapons or financial aid to Ukraine, arguing that Germany should focus on its own national security and not be drawn further into a conflict with Russia. Furthermore, they oppose a NATO expansion eastwards, claiming that it unnecessarily accelerates tensions with Russia. Germany's mainstream parties have distanced themselves from Russia due to the Ukraine war. The AfD takes a different approach. They are calling to normalize the relations with Russia and remove the economic sanctions, arguing that they harm Germany more than they hurt Russia. As already mentioned, they want to restore gas imports from Russia to lower energy prices. Unlike other parties that see China as a threat, the AfD takes a pragmatic approach, supporting economic cooperation while opposing Chinese political influence in Europe. The AfD is one of the most Eurosceptic parties in Germany, advocating for major changes in Germany's relation with the EU. The AfD wants to reshape the European Union, reducing Brussels' power and returning more power to the national governments. They also want to reduce Germany's financial contribution to the EU, arguing that Germany pays too much into the EU budget and demands a renegotiation of financial commitments. The AfD insists that its goal is not to leave the EU immediately, but rather to change it from within. However, if reforms fail, they believe Germany should be prepared to go its own way. Beyond its major policy areas, the AfD also has positions on digitalization, agriculture, transport, and infrastructure. While these topics receive less attention in public debates, they are still an important part of the party's election program. Their main proposals include expanding high-speed internet nationwide, limiting government surveillance and digital censorship, reducing EU influence on digital regulations. Also, the AfD takes a strong pro-farmer stance and opposes many EU regulations on agriculture. By reducing EU environmental restriction, reintroducing agriculture subsidies for farmers, they believe these steps are necessary to protect domestic food production and reduce dependence on imported goods. While on infrastructure, they prioritize highways and road expansions over rail and bicycle infrastructure. The AfD has presented a manifesto that challenges Germany's current political direction, from the economic and tax policies to their stance on migration, the EU and foreign relations. The party proposes a shift towards national sovereignty, economic deregulation and stricter migration laws. Whether you agree or disagree with these policies, the AfD's election program offers a clear alternative to Germany's current government. But the question remains, would their policies improve Germany's future or create new challenges? What do you think about the AfD's election manifesto? Do you support their vision, or do you see risks in their policies? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this analysis helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more videos like that. With that being said, thanks for watching and see you in the next one.